writing,
Writing
notes,
notes.
simplified writing.
Yeah. And
That
then back to the opposite end after, because
probably.
I get far too excited.
So you were just about to tell me about your Obsidian Vault rebuild, reset up, whatever thing.
Yes.
Explain.
So I've been running D&D I don't know how long now. A lot for a while, and I run a number of campaigns. So people who don't know, that's kind of a regular get together of a particular group of people that play well regularly, either weekly or every other week, which is what I do. And so recently I started a new group with a bunch of business owners from all around the world,
Right.
which meant I needed to kind of like go online a little bit. So I started playing and experimenting, and there is well, I don't know about huge, but there is a decent Obsidian like group of TTRPG players. There is a lot of yummy plugins,
Oh
which I
yes.
have been on full plugin binge. It's been joyful and fun. We'll get back to simplicity. But the reason why I wanted to change was because so much of what I was trying to do in person is so like I pens keep running out. All of the pieces that just like So I just started moving it all into Obsidian to see what that was like. And I wanted to start having a little bit more visual flair, shall we say, so that when I'm looking at it, it kind of triggers, you know, ideas,
Excitement.
excitement. So I can also
Interesting.
kind of have all of the information from all of the stuff that I own, which is maybe a lot. And it is, I will have a offline local copy on my computers without having to keep scrolling through everything and losing stuff. And I was finding with what I had before, I kept losing stuff, and I wanted to have easy access to rules and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, cool, let's rebuild. What would that look like? I don't know. We'll find out, kind of thing. And so I started rebuilding, started doing some research. I think it's Josh
Yeah, Josh Packett,
Plunkett.
Plunkett. Yeah.
Plunkett. Yeah, Josh Plunkett has a huge selection of really cool stuff. So I started from his stuff because I already knew what I wanted, and his was so close. And I'm like, cool, I like that, but I want to add this, 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 and this. This is what I need. Because his is very much focused on one party. I don't have one party. I have
Four.
four. So I needed to figure out, okay, cool, what would that look like? What do I want that to look like? And I'm like, okay, cool, I want it to look like this and like this. And then it was nice to just recreate it. And it's pretty and it's nice and it makes me happy.
So when it comes to obviously we're going to refer to simple note taking later because I want to dive on that a little bit. But sometimes simple is adding.
Yes, it was definitely adding for me. It was very much so the main things that I added in was like what Josh does is he has like a D&D 5e side screen, which has just like resistances, immunity, vulnerability. What does vulnerable mean? Half cover, three quarters cover, total cover, obscured, lightly obscured, and like all the abilities and checks and stuff that I can look at a glance. That was all not really in there originally. I use the CLI command line interface thing that they have, and it's amazing and took me hours to get set up. But now it's done. It's like, oh, this is so helpful. I can see everything all in one go. And I also wanted to have my characters ready on the side. And then I had their armor class, which is the thing I'm always looking at, and their passive perception. So, like what they're looking around as when they're in the world at by my side easily. And all of that was additional stuff. I now have the entirety of almost my entire D&D collection inside of Obsidian as notes. So I have
That
all
would
of
be
the
why the
adventures.
sync vault was going crazy.
Um, shouldn't be.
My sync vault, every time I went into it, it was constantly like syncing. I was like, is John doing something again?
No, because this is not the vault. I'm
Oh,
showing you. I mean, I
oh.
was doing something in the other vault.
Oh, maybe it's just a coincidence. Yeah, because my obviously I'm always writing, but yeah, it was doing its orange to green syncing thing quite a bit.
I did do quite a bit. I think it was this week. I don't remember. I have slept somewhat, maybe occasionally since then.
Yes, yes. So when you say you've added stuff into the vault, so what is in the vault at the moment when it comes to like when you go in to do the writing thing,
Mm.
what is it that you see?
So when I first go in, I
You could
have
probably
a.
share screen actually thinking about it.
I want to share screen. I want to do that. That sucks. Yeah. So what I usually see when I come in, so I have this home page. This is a new bit. I don't know whether I'm going to keep it quite like this, but I've got the home page with each group that I have already got everything written in. There's two other spaces for the other two once I get around to them, but they're finishing a campaign. I want to get that done quickly first. And so I come in and I can go to kind of almost like a home page for them. So we have the map, we have the journey board, and usually there'd be a current adventure link, which I just haven't updated for this one yet because I haven't. Then you have all of the character names and their levels and all of that lovely stuff. And then we have the session notes on the right there.
Looks good.
The session notes kind of go into detail of what they've been doing, what they're hoping to achieve, and me just making rough notes on what they did and why they did them and all those lovely things. Then we have recently modified NPCs. So these are all NPCs that live there with images and everything and all that lovely stuff. Because I'm just like, yes, it's nice to be able to actually properly see the information, and each of them there's secret cult, there's a stat block if they end up deciding to attack, and then location. So when Winvel with the River Green, this is based on a campaign area that someone's created, and I'm kind of adapting it and playing with it to fit my group.
So for the Obsidian users out there, because I'm sure people will ask in the comment section once they've seen this, I assume that's that's a lot of data view queries with some
Oh no,
CSS for the
no, no, no,
columns.
none of it. It's all manual. It's all manual. It's all real. No, yeah. So this is a table at the top, and these are all data view queries, of course.
Do you want to go to
Uh,
the source view? Do you mind?
yeah, sure.
And I'm just thinking because the source mode might help people sort of see what like it actually looks like. So you've got some data view queries.
Yeah, got a data view query here. Got this kind of table at the top. Then we've got like the players,
Yeah.
the NPCs, and the recently modified. It's very simple, to be honest.
But that's what I mean. Like, even though when you look at it and you look at a typical Obsidian file, you look at that file and go, "Whoa, that's complicated."
But
Uh,
it's not, is it? And that's what I think is really cool.
yeah.
It didn't take like I mean, I just used Josh's template and then I've butchered it to fit my own needs and wants and desires, and it's really helped just to
Hmm.
be able to be able to see things at a glance super quickly. And then when it comes to kind of like my writing, it's become really easy. So if we go into my Deviants group, because they're the ones that I've done something recently. So on the right hand side here, I have like the fight and the combat, which obviously you can see they won. And then I have kind of calendar dates, which are in the time of Dungeons and Dragons. Not I'm not
What
entirely happy with that yet.
what calendar is that? Because obviously that can't be a normal calendar.
That is the fantasy calendar plugin.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, there's an error there which I need to fix, but that's fine.
That was a
I
data view query error. That's just a.
think it's because I didn't finish it. There we go.
Oh, properties on two sides. I haven't actually seen that because I don't use properties.
Yeah, well, it's nice. It's just,
Columned
yeah,
properties, is that CSS inside of the
yeah, it's
page?
CSS that he's put in.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't bother looking at properties. They're always hidden for me.
Yeah, I
Right.
have them sometimes, and then other times I don't. And I have like, so I've been experimenting with Excalibur. I
Mm-hmm.
like it, but also don't like it.
Yeah, I'm
I think that's inexperience, really.
yeah, I'm not a fan. I much prefer the canvas. The canvas to me is snappier. Excalibur, even though it's very close, it's still got a little bit of delay, and I don't like it. The visual delay
Mm.
is just I don't like it. The canvas is far snappier. And what TFT Hacker came out with recently with the Candy canvas, that's very nice. Adding CSS to the canvas for different colors,
Yeah, I might
blocks and
look at
stuff.
that actually. I mean, I really like this. So another thing, I've got a timeline plugin, which means I can put events inside of here, and I get to
Populate.
see things at a timeline, which I'm loving because I'm like, okay, what did we do last week? Oh, this is what we did last week. And all that's managed in here. So I've got like a one-liner that it takes it from. And it's super simple. And then I have plot threads, that lovely thing. Oh yeah, that's what I got to do. And it just gives me that space to figure stuff out, and that's
Mm.
good. I do enjoy it. They got nice little images and in-game dates and real-time dates and all of that lovely stuff.
Yeah, I
And then
must admit,
here I've got journal entries, NPCs, locations, guild, magic items. Now, one thing that I'm kind of like ing about is definitely there is a if I'm not careful, it will break.
fragile.
Um,
Mm.
it is a tiny. These buttons are a little bit more fragile than I want, so I'm more likely just to go here into the group that I'm in, which I'll always have the folder open, um, and just go into the NPCs and make them there because it's a tiny bit fragile. Because if we go into the templates for
Yeesh.
the groups,
This is a template vault, I assume, because there's a lot of stuff in there.
yeah, it's a template vault. You see here, there's this little bit of code for templater, which automatically moves things around.
I love how
Uh,
we've said simple and now you've got template to code up on screen.
yeah, I know it's not simple, and I'm still like a little bit like, you've crashed one too many times to fully trust you yet, and it might be removed. That's what kind of where I'm like, I like the idea of automatically moving a file for me, automatically asking for a name. But if you crash whenever I touch something other than Obsidian, I'm instantly not happy.
Yeah.
So I would rather just not have to think about
So I guess my question when I'm looking at this is why do you need it all?
that. Ease of finding it all in one go. It's a nice trigger for me to be like, oh yeah, I need to remember about this person and that person. Um, and it looks nice.
Okay. I was going to
A
say
lot
the
of
the
this, a
looking
lot of
nice.
this visualization is helping me just easily access stuff. If I was really honest, all I really need is this most of the time, and then that, which is if I load up this, that is exactly what I see. And this is more handy than not handy. Because this is in an initiative tracker. So from inside of here, I can find myself if I go to deviants again because they're easier to find, and I go to Low Lantern, I can quite literally add things to initiative and then add my party, which you won't entirely be able to see, but and add my party and then off I go. And they've already rolled. I manually add their initiative and then off we go. And that's easier. Um,
Right.
And then I have the ability to completely, so this is the default stuff, but I then completely customize. I take this, put it into the world and 5e, and then I start making different things and start changing things and adding text. So being able to have the actual module that's pre-written and then editing that module for myself to customize it to fit what I'm wanting to do, it's kind of what I enjoy doing. And it's really, that bit is more valuable than all the pretty stuff, but I like the pretty stuff.
Yeah. I guess as a sideways question, because I can envision this also being asked, where'd you get your images from?
The images of characters is generated because this is generated via AI because I do not have time to do all of that, and my other half is actually in the game, so I can't get them to create the art for me.
Yep.
But most of the time, I literally just generate it via. I've been using ChatGPT because it's just done
Oh,
quickly.
ChatGPT to generate the image.
Yes, they
Oh,
now have
interesting.
that there. So I basically do that now. And it was just quick and easy and it looked good and I enjoyed it. So I just did that.
Sounds good. Sounds fair enough. So when it comes to I guess the writing side of this, because to me, this is more like, I don't want to say project management because they're not like projects, but they are projects.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. It is a project with love to my players because there's so much going on and there's a lot of like plot hooks that I'm kind of managing and a lot of scenarios I've got to try and tweak in. So a good example is with this group, one of their main characters was killed due to another character's interesting decisions. And so that's something that I need to be able to expand on and I will use as later plot hooks. And then we have another character, because so currently we're in Baldur's Gate, which is like a seedy underworld. No, not underworld, it's still above ground, but the underworld is something different, where there is some form of like strange drug that's ended up on the streets. And one of the players has taken it. And so I've got to start managing that as well.
Right. Okay, yeah. So I guess the writing element, the actual
Mm.
note-taking element, where and how is that done?
So that's done within the world. So
Speak of Obsidian terms. What's the word? Just a file?
it's a folder and just a file, yeah. And I have a file for each section. So the original like adventure is done and in here, and then I create separate files that are customized to the way I like to see things. So I don't replace the raw underlying like stuff from in here. So if we open this up here, so you'll be able to see, oh, okay, fine. So I have the original adventure here. And usually I quite literally just go, okay, here's my copy. Let's go down to wherever it may be. Where are we here? Okay, we'll just say it's Dungeons and 3. It's not, but we'll say it is. And then I can kind of just scroll down here, and take the text that I want, what I'm looking to achieve, all of that lovely stuff. And that's how I kind of write. I have that collapsed, put like that. And then I'm basically just copying from here to here, editing stuff, tweaking stuff, playing with stuff. And that's kind of how I do it.
And that is exactly the point, I guess, I wanted to get to, is that even though in your project management, when it comes to the actual like doing of the thing, it's literally just two panes with a couple of tabs and then just typing text and writing.
Yeah, it is. It is very simple, and I'm actually planning, and that I think was what I wanted to turn it into, because I didn't have the like the affordances to be able to do that in the old version of this vault. It was just nowhere near as easy, and I'd have to go in, I'd have to get it from a PDF, copy it from the PDF, put it into the thing, then deal with that. And there was just so much effort, so I never did it. anywhere near as much. So it took me hours. Whereas now I have on the right hand side, I have the actual book that is from Wizards of the Coast. I have it all imported in. Obviously, you should own it, etc., blah 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 blah. Things that I'm meant to say, legally required, blah blah blah. But I have it all in here, and then I have the fantastic images, which is always a tough thing to find, and I can open it in a new window and show it on my Mac versus having to print everything out when my printer just doesn't want to be kind to me.
So
So it just makes my
once
life
you've got
easier.
the information in there, it's
Yeah.
have you done like a copy and paste of the original text to the old text and then adjusted it?
Yeah, so I copy what I've got in here. Let's actually go to the correct section in this one so that you can kind of see the difference. So we are currently, this one is the dungeon. So we'll scroll down here. And what I am going to be installing is the Quiet Outline plugin because this is infuriating.
I was about to say, have you got the quiet outline plugin? Because that makes search so much easier with the outline.
So nice. So yeah, as you can see, we've got like arrival at the bathhouse. If I scroll up, you'll see arrival at the bathhouse. So a lot of it is very similar. I only imported this in so I had information from last time and I can tweak it. But basically, for a later thing that I'm doing. So in here, chapter 1 is one whole file, as you can see on the right. Whereas for me, I have separated chapter 1 out into a file folder. And then I've got like a folder inside, which is the specific kind of plot points, because I wanted to be able to separate stuff out so it's a bit cleaner for me.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm curious. You're using the files plugin a fair amount. Have you explored using the bookmarks?
I probably could use the bookmarks, and in my other vault I did. I don't know, I haven't just
I'm just
didn't.
thinking because scrolling up and down those folders and files to me it would drive me nuts. The same as the going up and down with the outline. It would also drive me nuts.
Yeah, I probably could just put that turn that back on and use that instead. But also, most of the time I'm not doing it like this. I just have it. So if I go over to one of my groups, I actually have it. Let's do Dungeons and Deviants. I have it here, so I just press this, and then I go straight there. It's only because I'm showing what I'm doing that I'm
Yeah.
not. Yeah. So.
Okay, so what you clicked on there is like an overview file inside of the group, correct?
Yeah. So this is a file. I think it's a file folder plugin.
Mm.
So then I have a file for each member. I click here, I go here, I click here because that's where their adventure is, and then I'm off. And then I know what I'm doing. And then I've got like a little image trigger for the low lantern, which because I'm running Baldur's Gate. And it's just like, yes, cool, excellent. I find that. And then I click here, and then I've got a side screen, or I click here, and I've got my DM board, and I can see all my players, what they're doing, what they're up to. Super simple. One change that's happened since moving to this is I'm no longer using the live preview,
Right.
which is what I used to use. I am literally going from the preview mode like to like
From reading to source.
reading to source, which I never did. I always had the preview mode on. So that's one thing I'm adjusting to, which is kind of like, okay. And I prefer it as well because it's less messy. And that's purely because the theme does not do very well.
I was going to say because it looks like you've got a lot of CSS inside of those files, and I would imagine Live Preview doesn't like some of that.
Well, I have images that can go to the left and to the right. So this like image box looks atrocious. Normally, it doesn't look great here, but I'm gonna have it just like this.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so this I would imagine is your writing, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there to me that is like added complexity, but I think that's because it's a fairly I would say new, but I don't know how new it is. What, a week old, the setup at the moment?
Yeah, it's about a week old. So yeah, I've already started streamlining some things, taking stuff out. But also it's quite complex what I do in many ways.
That's what I wanted to sort of like get at a little bit when it comes to like the grabbing of the notes. Like when you come up with an
Well, that
idea
bit's
of a
simple.
plot, well, yeah, when you get an idea for a plot line or a story arc or anything like that, how and where like do you go about doing that? You don't have to share screen for that and just talk through.
Yeah, it's quite literally the moment I kind of come up with an idea, it will either go into the it will go into the overarching world file in the world that I'm in. So I have a general world overview, I have the 5e modules, and then I have other homebrew modules, whether it be mine or other people's. And I go in there and I start making notes and start jotting things down, and I take things from different places. Because that was the thing I think, like if I was to think about what this vault has helped me do, it is that. It's the being able to take from modules that already exist that I've got a local copy of, which when I'm out playing, I don't have the internet.
Yeah.
So I have to go local. And so being able to be local and make rulings on rules is the bit that's most exciting for me. Yes, it's pretty and it's nice to look at the what they've been doing and all that. But that is, I could take it all away and I'd be all right. But I couldn't get rid of like having the full book, the adventure downloaded in markdown format with everything added that I want to have added and the ability to create my own versions. That was right there, the thing that made me go, okay, cool, it's time to change. It's time to use that. It's time to tweak with that and play with that. And having the character things with having a generated image, so it feels like a character profile is really nice. I could remove the rest of it. I don't really care necessarily, but it's nice to have. And then I have the groups, and then I'm able to make connections that I didn't make before, which I probably would have made eventually, but I'm like, it just things emerge. It's fun.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because when I think about the writing that I do, and because I've been in Reddit recently, in the Obsidian Reddit, and I've been looking at the conversations, and I'm seeing more and more people, probably because it's becoming closer to the time where people are starting to write essays. Like it's coming towards the end of the year, so the end of first semester is coming in, so they're probably going to have to start prepping. If they're doing the master's degree, they're going to have to like do the lit review stuff. If they're actually like undergrads or potentially postgrads that have some essay assignments coming up, extended abstracts or things, they're going to be writing. And I'm seeing lots of conversations about what writing plugins are you using or how are you structuring your writing and these sorts of things. And yes, long form is helpful. The long form plugin is helpful in certain workflows. Yes, there are lots of plugins like Better Word Count and Writing Goals and the loads of plugins that help you with stats. But at the end of the day, when you look at Word, Microsoft Word, it does all of that. So what does Obsidian do that Microsoft Word doesn't do? That's what I ask when I want to like simplify my writing. And the two things that irritate me the most about Microsoft Word is having to scroll up and down. It's just annoying. And the outline in Word, although it works, I find for whatever reason just odd. It doesn't work as you would expect it to. For example, when I click on a heading, sometimes it doesn't take me to the heading. Sometimes it takes me 2 clicks. And then sometimes when I click on the heading, it folds the heading in the table of contents rather than taking me to the heading. And that's like a small UI thing. And it's just annoying. And then for whatever reason, when you click on the heading, it takes you to the heading in the middle of the page, which is fine. But then you have to scroll down to the text. And when you're doing that multiple times, it becomes irritating. And the mouse becomes this, like your hand just becomes glued to the mouse because you need to go to the table of content, like TOC, then script, then TOC, then script. Just doing that is annoying. And split screening in Word is far harder than Obsidian. But
I've been doing a Notion build for a client, and oh my gosh, there's split screen.
every time I'm in Notion and I go to the side peek view, I'm like, no, this is not split screen. This is nasty.
Just so much effort. It's just like let me just take that tab, put it next to the other thing, and now it'd be like that. Just let me do that. Just do it, Notion. Just fucking do it, so that I can do what I want to do 5 times faster. Because of course I have that functionality in both Obsidian, but also in my browser. and I use it. And so when a tool does not have that, it makes me cry because I'm just like, come on.
But that's one of the things I think that the developer world, obviously they are on their computer. They use their computers a lot because that's where their work is. So when you have a developer focused tool, i.e. Obsidian, uh, they know those things. Like they know the shortcuts. They know how to get around a computer quickly and fast. And when it comes to writing, that's what I like. So when
Yeah.
I went back to Word, as I mentioned in the last episode. I went back to Word, and the outline was annoying. Right, that's point one. It was just annoying, and the split screens made that easier. But the other thing as well is being able to jump between different files. Like because Word is a file, it's not a folder. I can't go between different files unless I have like 20 Word documents up. But then you're like, oh, which Word file is it? Which one is it? And you end up like clicking through all the files, and it's just so annoying. And if you do have this, so when I was writing my master's dissertation, I had my actual script as a Word file, and
Mhm.
then I had my research, my lit review as another Word file. But I had a TOC for both of those. So when I was doing one section, I was like, right, I need to go to my research file now. And at the time, I'm on a laptop. So I have like windows, like split screens of Word with a TOC. You could hardly see the words. It was painful. You could, I think you get like 10 words on a line maybe inside of Word because you had the TOC open. And that was split screened with the other one. Or I just had to go backwards and forwards between the two. So I'm constantly switching windows and it's just, it's annoying. So while I'm writing, I'm like, oh, I need that reference, or I need to understand this point, or what was it that I said? So I'd go back to the other file. Then I'd need to go to the TOC to jump down to that section, then write the thing, then go up to another section, then write the thing. And it was so painful, but I didn't realize how painful it was because I'd never seen anything else. Now I'm in Obsidian and I just open up two panes and add a tab or add another pane. It's so much easier. And they are two really simple features of Obsidian that I think are either underappreciated or overvalued by the people in the Obsidian community. Like those in Obsidian, like, oh yeah, just do this, just do that.
Yeah.
If you're in Scrivener, you can't just do this or just do that, or Word, you can't just do this because they're not features.
And that I think is where Obsidian, it's so hard to think of another platform because there are dedicated like world building platforms, like World Anvil is a good example. And I look at it and I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's kind of cool. But I could do that in Obsidian. 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 And it's all local, so I don't have to be online. And I control everything, so I don't have to worry about that. Obsidian.
That's where the simplicity I think comes because Obsidian is built from just write text
Yeah.
and have panes and tabs. If you
Mm.
want to do all this other stuff, great, go do it. But you don't have to. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I mentioned
Yeah,
that in the video.
absolutely. Yeah, oh, absolutely.
But the
I
thing with
think
Obsidian
it's
is
different
you
examples.
can if you want to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the joy for me of like, oh, cool, I can customize this. And I am still in like the first week of using it. There are a few things that I'm going to change already, and I've already started changing, and I can because it's that easy to do.
When it comes to the actual like writing element for me as a structural hierarchy overview sort of thing, I saw there was a post on Reddit, I think it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago, they were talking about all the frameworks and stuff, and they listed like 15, and then other people were like, oh yeah, don't forget this one and that one and this one. And I'm like, forget all that rubbish. When I look at all of those systems, there is a dashboard of some kind. There is a place, whether it's a canvas file, a folder, or a like heading file, whatever you want to call it. There is a file or a place that you go to see an overview of stuff. For me, it's a canvas because a canvas is expandable and I can see what I want, however much I want, and move around with my mouse. I don't have to click around. I can just drag my mouse around with middle click. So there's the dashboard. then you're going to have projects, so things you're working on. That's just the way it is. Whether it's going to be a script, whether it's going to be like a written script, or whether it's going to be an essay, or it's going to be an article, it's going to be a video outline. There are going to be projects, and then there's going to be sources to those things.
Yeah.
And in your world building, it's the same thing. You have an
Yes,
overview.
you guys are identical.
Well, yeah, you have an overview, which is a file in a folder, and you're using a plugin to hide the file that's in the folder, which just makes viewing easy, but you don't need that plugin. It's personal preference. Then you have projects. So there's the script, the storyline, and then the sources are all the sessions that you're doing, because it's going into the project that's moving the storyline along. So it's the same hierarchy. It's just simple. It's, I need to see everything. Then I need to work out, okay, well, I need to see all the projects I'm doing and any other information I want to see. Then I want the projects, like the project information, and then inside that project information, I want the sources.
Yeah.
You don't need anything else.
It's magic.
And something that I found, I learnt was it yesterday? Either yesterday or the day before. But a lot of the video essay YouTubers that I watch use Obsidian. I found out they use Obsidian, but they don't talk about it because it's just they just use it. It's like Word. Like everyone just expects to use Word, and in the video essay world on YouTube, they just expect you to be using Obsidian. And I was like, oh.
I think that's always been the thing with Obsidian that I found really hard. Like, oh, I'd love to hear your why. I just use it. I'm not like when I was going through, I was like, yeah, this I suppose. Oh yeah, this is an interesting thing, I guess. Oh yeah, I was finding the most interesting things to show people, like just now, not to show you all. But really, it's too painful I'm on them.
But that's it. And I think that's the difference between Notion and Obsidian.
Yes.
Like Notion, when you look at someone's Notion, you almost need to see the flashy stuff to understand what's going on. Like you can't see a Notion workspace without explaining to some extent the properties that are in the database and why you have the databases, normally more than one, that you have and use. Whereas Obsidian, you can just show someone, most people that use Obsidian will just go, there's my folders, there's my files, and I'm right here. Vault tour done. don't need anything else. Which is where the simplicity of writing is, I love it. And I'm obviously, because I'm doing NaNoWriMo, I'm consuming a lot of writers' content. And the writers, they don't talk about the tools, but they talk about the frustrations of tools, which is interesting. And they talk about how they do their writing. Like they're talking about hooks and storylines and arcs and plot themes and all those sorts of stuff, all that sort of stuff inside of the writing. But what they then talk about is them struggling to either manage the plot lines or organize the story. Like they write and they've got a word tracker and it's sort of there. But it's them being able to track all the information going through the story, whether it's where's this character, what's this character doing, who's this character, sort of thing. And that's where they use Scrivener, because they need another place to put their sources. But for me, because of the way Obsidian works, when I'm writing, because I'm linking all of the people, I can say, oh, there was something I needed to focus on that person. What was it? I just moved my mouse over the person's name and I can see it. it's a really small thing, but I can just immediately see, like one of my characters, one of the main characters, I forgot something that I'd written about like 4 or 5 scenes ago, but I didn't need to scroll back or go back. I could just hover over the name and see the plot line that I'd started.
Love it.
It's so simple that I can do that inside of Obsidian. Like I don't need to do the scrolling back. Having said that, though, one thing I am struggling with mapping out an entire novel inside of Obsidian is, I think this is partly due to the book, or the books potentially, that I'm writing, because I don't think I can fit this one storyline in one book, but I'm trying. is the amount of plot lines in an overview. That sort of dashboard is what I'm struggling with.
Try the timeline plugin.
I don't know how that would work, because the way I'd like to see, I'm at the moment I'm using Excel because Excel is just a spreadsheet and that's basically what I want. Is I want to be able to go into a cell, because I've tried advanced tables in Obsidian and then it's just no, I just don't like it. I want to be able to go into a cell and add something, because columns are plot lines.
Okay.
Because I've got chapters on the left, so I can see sort of throughout the time in the left side, going through the chapters and the scenes, because obviously you go through time through whatever it is, like September to December, whatever, on the left. So I know what's going forwards in time. And then the plot line, I want to be able to know roughly how quickly the plot lines move forwards, because some of them, like I'll mention them in chapter 1, but then I won't do anything with that plot line for like 2 chapters. Or other plot lines, it's like a really quick one, and maybe it goes through just 2 chapters, and I've got like 5 different points or beats that I want to hit between different scenes, and I want to be able to see what plot lines are going quickly, what ones are lasting, which ones I haven't ended, or some that I've planned an end but haven't put a start in, because some things I'm working backwards. I'm like, I want that to happen, but I have no idea how I'm going to build up to that. And being able to see all of that dynamically inside of Obsidian, because it's not a spreadsheet tool, is something I'm trying to work out. I've tried with the canvas, but there's too much friction between adding a card, adding the words, and adding another card, adding the words.
Annoying.
Especially when it comes to adding colors as well. Like spreadsheet at the moment is great, but keeping it simple, I just have a draft 1 outline. Well, I've called it book 1. Like the Excel spreadsheet called it book 1, and I've just added the link inside of my dashboard canvas for my book. So when I go into the fantasy workspace for writing the fantasy book, I have my data view queries of all my characters, all my skills, all of like the setting information, like cultural setting information, interactions between people, etc. And then some other notes as well. But then I can click and it opens up I would show you this, but obviously it would spoil like the entire plot, so I'm not going to. But I can click on the Excel character on the Excel thing, and it brings up my character plot sheet, which I just move to another screen, so I can see while I'm writing. This is because I have more than one screen. I have 4. I can see while I'm writing the entire plot of the book, which I can't do in Obsidian well enough. You certainly can't do it in Word or Scrivener. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment with the writing. The planning, I think spreadsheet is needed. Notion, no. I tried using a database for it. No, just no, never, not happening. As much as I have tried, and I will continue using Notion for the video essay scripts with my editor. I really don't like it. I really don't like it. Notion's such a...
It's too slow. It's too clunky. It's too regimented and constraining when you've been in Obsidian.
It's the best we've got, but I don't like it, is how I would explain Notion.
Yeah.
Like, I would say when I was working in Word, it's the best we've got, but I don't like it. Now I'm in Obsidian, it's the best we've got, and I like it.
Yeah.
I think Excel is the best I've got, but I don't like it. The biggest pain points with Excel, for those curious, is when I want to write like bullet points inside of an Excel cell, it's hard, because you either wrap the cell text so it's all through lines, which I don't want to see, or you don't wrap text, but because Excel is built as just one long line, you have to move the cell so it works, but then everything in that cell needs to be the same, like same width, which just doesn't work. So you end up getting like these blocks of text inside of a cell, because it's a spreadsheet, rather than lists of points I want to see, which is why obviously you'd use pen and paper but I don't want to use pen and paper because if I change my mind, I then have to scribble everything out. And it just ends up looking like an absolute mess. So yeah, that's my pain point at the moment. If you know of an app that's a spreadsheet that's not a spreadsheet,
Notion.
yeah, it's not though. It's not a spreadsheet. It's a try to be database. Yeah, it's a try to be database.
Ooh, it's a try hard database.
Yep, yep.
Ouch.
Okay, unless you've got something else you want to add, I want to move over to tasks a little bit.
Go for it.
So related tasks. When it comes to the writing of my video essays and my articles, what I'm actually doing is putting sources as tasks. So at the top of the file, I have all of my sources in there, and then I have them as tasks so that I know I've gone through that source and I've added that source, or I've done whatever I needed to do with the source, and I'm not tracking them, as it were. I'm not like, oh, how many tasks have I completed, or what's my progress of this project with these things, like that. It's just they're at the top of the file, so I can easily get to them, I can easily see them, and I can easily add to it. But I'm not that vigilant on how many tasks there are, how many tasks there aren't, how many I've completed, how many I haven't completed. And it's a really nice way in a word writing app to just have a tick box to say,
Yeah.
I want to do that and I want to tick it off. It's just a simple, I don't need a date, I don't need a priority, I don't need anything on it apart from I want to be able to tick it off.
It's done. Yay.
Yeah. And it's the small things like that inside of Obsidian that's nice. Obviously, you can do that in Word. You can do that in Google Docs. So I guess it's a small like hat off to the people that do it. It's just like small quick tasks inside of scripts to just get things done and to remind you of what you got to do. So, but yeah, instead of adding it to a like full-blown task manager, do you do that at all when you're writing?
Not so much, but
So I
it
saw
is
you had
something
like
that
storylines, and I was like, are they?
they're not tickable because so in D&D, storylines are more of a suggestion. Like I have an overarching kind of scenario that's going to happen. This is the overarching thing. I have the overarching idea of this campaign. I know where they're going to end. I know where they're going to start, and I know some key points in between. But what they decide to do might destroy some of those campaigns completely, might let the sessions completely, and it will change it rapidly. So yes and no. It's more of a suggestion of like, this is what I think is going to happen. These are notes for me to expand on when I'm home. Often is what you see in the journal is I am only in that journal when I'm in game, primarily. Because that's where I'm like, oh, cool, this happened. Oh, cool, this happened. Oh, cool, this happened. Oh, cool, this happened. This is a thing that they did that I need to keep track of because I'm going to make that come back and bite them on the backside. Because I'm that kind of DM. But yeah, so I don't exactly have like a solid plot line that I just follow and then have tasks added in. Although I quite like that idea. It's something that I might experiment with a tiny bit of like seeing what happens if I start using tasks.
Because
As
the way I've actually done it with some of my tasks is I've put some ideas or some sort of like threads and plots in there. And as I've written out the article, I've just ticked it off and gone, no, I'm not going to do that. So I know it was there. I know it was a thing, but I don't need to concern myself with it anymore. And I found that quite helpful when writing some of these essays because some of the things I've put in there, some of the ideas, expand into areas that I really don't need, and it just becomes redundant. But I don't want to remove it, but I don't want to pay attention to it unless I need to pay attention to it. Unless I think, oh, there was that thing that might actually relate here. What was that? Or it's still there.
Yeah.
Rather than me having to strain to remember, it's just already there. The environment's helping me.
Yeah, I might play around with that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, a little bit of a shorter episode, this one, unless you've got something else you want to add.
Wow, we did a short episode.
Yeah, well, I say short episode, it's like 50 minutes, well, 40 minutes. So,
That is short for us.
well, yeah, we're normally like hour 10.
Enjoy the shorter episode.
Yeah, because I mean, I've got nothing else to add unless you want to add some stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Right. See you all next week.
Bye.